Numbers, the distributive property of numbers. In our previous lesson, we learned about the commutative property and the associative property. Today, we will look at the distributive property of numbers. Here is a rectangle. The area of this rectangle will be 3 times 7, 21 squares. We can divide this rectangle into 3 rows. 3 blue squares plus 4 green squares, but there are 3 rows. So then we can add the 3 and the 4, and that is 3 times 7 is 21. We can also take the same rectangle and divide it into a square and a rectangle and work out the area separately. So 3 times 3 is 9 and 3 times 4 is 12, and that is equal to 21 squares. Do you see that we used different methods, but we calculated the correct area? The distributive property is if we add or subtract in brackets, then we can multiply the number outside the brackets. So this is not an example of the distributive property. There must be a plus or a minus in the bracket. The distributive property of multiplication says that multiplying a number together with a group of numbers added together or subtracted from each other is the same as doing each multiplication separately, just in the case of the rectangle. So A times B plus C is A times B plus A times C, or A times B minus C is A times B minus A times C. Let us use the distributive property. So 12 times 4 plus 12 times 10 plus 12 times 7, and that is equal to 252. This is a very useful property when we do algebra. Look at this example. Sometimes it's necessary to undistribute or factorize. So we've got 45 times 18 plus 45 times 2. So now we can rather say 45 and in brackets 18 plus 2. So we have undistributed. In this case, it's easier because 45 times 20, you just add a 0 and double the 45. So depending on the situation, we will sometimes distribute to make calculations easier and sometimes undistribute or factorize to make calculations easier. The more properties you know and understand, the easier the calculations are.